Hey everyone, it's Jorge. I decided to take a little break from editing the next Chivalry video, and I just want to talk a little bit about Halo. I decided to just do a one take on this, just make it as quickly as possible since every other YouTuber out there is already posting their thoughts on the recent Halo Infinite footage. So there's not going to be any fancy editing process here, it's just going to be a one take and some footage from the recent multiplayer trailer and the developer's diaries or something like that, and the recent story trailer that they showed up this past Sunday. So bear with me as I go through my thoughts on the recent Halo footage, because I just had this desire to really talk about Halo Infinite because it's brought back some real excitement back into me since the reveal of Halo 5. Now, to the two folks who subscribe to my channel, thank you very much. It actually does mean a lot to me. But I want to let you guys know that I am a big Halo fan. Like, that's why I have my profile pic and my dashboard Halo related. And so you may have noticed that I actually haven't published any Halo content. And the reason for that is because I essentially have strayed away from Halo games because of Gears 5 and because of the recent Battlefield 5 game. Those are the games I primarily played now. But before that, I played Halo 5 religiously. It was the game I played the most since, I would say, Halo 2. And that was when I was in middle school. And I played Halo 5 through most of my college years. I just recently graduated this past month. And the reason why I bring that up in the first place is because I loved every Halo game. I played everything. I played the first Halo Combat Evolved when it came out in 2001. So I played it from the very beginning, and I was just like, I loved every single Halo game. The only ones I haven't played are the strategy games and the Spartan Assault games. Those are the only ones that I have not played, but everything else I played and loved every single one of them. And it was very disappointing to see the reception Halo 5 received when it came out and the years after that, because I personally felt it was mostly unwarranted. Honestly, I truly believe that most of the criticisms that Halo 5 received were completely unnecessary, or they were trying to find ways to contort what was happening in the game or what's part of the game and turning it into a negative. Like, for example, I remember one of the criticisms was that in the first person view it is a solid 60 frames per second, but from a distance the frame rate drops to keep it at a locked 60 frames per second. And you don't see that in, I don't believe, in any other FPS that came out in the past generation. I've never played a game with a solid 60 frames per second as chaotic as Halo can be. Like, even in Warzone, where as chaotic and messed up as it can get, it always retained that 60 frames per second, and yet that was seen as a negative. Like, even Digital Foundry, I'm sure you guys are aware of who those guys are. They said that they were incredibly impressed by how consistent the 60 frames per second was. Like, there was not a single drop in it. And now look at games today. Most of the games are trying to aim for that 60 frames per second, and yet even then they still have a hard time doing it. That's just one example that I can come up with on the top of my head right now. Especially with the art style, I'm not the biggest fan of it, but, well, the Master Chief is completely fine. In fact, I love his new style in this. But there were some things, for an example, the Phantom in the Halo Infinite reveal trailer from last year, it kind of looked like a Mega Bloks toy. And it was just one example that I can come up with right now as to why I'm not a big fan of the art direction it's heading, but that is gone now. I can honestly say that now I am definitely loving it. It's probably because the graphics have certainly seen some improvement considering from the E3 reveal trailer. So now it's just very uplifting to see the current reception Halo Infinite is now receiving, and that people are now more than ever excited to see this game released this holiday. That's probably what I can ultimately say about the recent trailers, is that it restored hope back into Halo. A lot of people are now saying it's reminiscent of the old Halo. I personally disagree to some extent because there's still sprint, there's still clamor, as I've seen in some of the footage, which I am very grateful for, because if 343 had taken away those mechanics, I would see that as regressive and not the right direction Halo should have gone to, because it would make it seem more dated than it should be. Because I do play the Master Chief Collection from time to time, but even then I've noticed that most of the Halo games feel slow and dated now. The only Halo game that seems to hold up well with the current times was Halo 2. That caught me by surprise. The pacing of that game is quite fast compared to the other Halo games. I would say to the equivalent of Halo 5. But of course, I'll talk about Halo 2, Halo 5, the entire Halo franchise at some other time. Like, I'll give my thoughts, and I guess you could say my analysis of the culture surrounding Halo, and why I'll even make a video defending Halo 5 at some point, but we'll see how this channel grows. But going back to Halo Infinite, one thing that's really exciting is to see how the equipment has been expanded upon. I believe Halo 3 did a kind of a poor job implementing the equipment in that game, but here it looks like they definitely overhauled it in its favor, to the point that it actually expands player-to-player combat, like adding a wider dimension to the gameplay, like sort of like the way the thruster packs in Halo 5. It certainly adds a new dimension of combat and adds a strategic value that I find unique in Halo when it comes to the FPS genre, particularly with the grapple hook. We've seen grapple hooks before, such as in Titanfall and recently in the Doom Eternal game. But this time, I don't recall any game using the grapple hook to hoist weapons towards them, or fusion cores, or to in an attempt to hijack planes. Well, I guess Titanfall counts as that. But in every other FPS, you just don't see that, and it's exciting to see all the possibilities you can do with these equipments. Like, it adds creativity to the Halo combat, which is what I believe everyone is excited for. The reason why everyone is so looking forward to playing this game now. Now, of course, it begs the question on the game modes. I understand that in some of the, I think some of the commentary, they said that big team battle, you can actually deploy vehicles and weapons. This has happened before with Halo 4, and with mixed results, in my opinion. To be quite frank, it's been such a long time since I played Halo 4 that I don't actually remember utilizing that game mechanic as much as I did. So hopefully they truly did refine this idea and made it actually fun to use. But what I can say when it comes to the ordnance drop is that I remember not exactly looking forward to using it, because I never found it to be that useful, which is why I would play game modes that did not have that game mechanic in play. In Halo 4, in the matchmaking, they had these separate game modes, one that included the ordnance and one that did not. And I usually lean towards the ones that with the ordnance were absent. And of course, Dominion. I love Dominion. That was a good game mode that unfortunately did not pass on to Halo 5. Speaking of Halo 5, I am really hoping they bring back Warzone into this. Warzone was definitely the game mode to play for me. I played that game more often than any other game mode in Halo 5. Until recently. Now I mostly play on Big Team Battle, because now the Halo 5 player base is so low that you can barely find Warzone match now, which is very disappointing. I kind of wish it still received some supports the way the Master Chief Collection is receiving support. I do understand that Big Team Battle has now been expanded to 24 players, which is exciting. I still hope that they still retain 8 versus 8 maps, maybe? I'm not exactly sure. But I have hopes that they are saving Warzone to reveal later. Because despite the issues that Warzone had, especially with the farming kills, that was a big one. That was probably the biggest issue that Warzone had, was that when the opposing team had all the bases covered and they didn't attack the core. All they did was just farming kill after kill after kill, which forced players to quit or force players to just stop playing altogether, which is completely understandable. Even I am guilty of doing that myself. And unfortunately, it has only gotten worse because of the low player base. So hopefully we get to see Warzone soon. I definitely am looking forward to more content being dropped by 343 and seeing more information about Halo Infinite. It's quite exciting now. Like, this is a good time to be a Halo fan because you are seeing a mix of the old and new. I was honestly dreading the idea that it might abandon many abilities that were introduced in the recent Halo games and to revert it back in the original trilogy. I understand people like it, but there comes a time when we do have to move on with the time, so to speak. But overall, I gotta say, I am definitely impressed with what we're looking at, especially with the recent multiplayer breakdown. It's just getting me more amped up to play this game more and more. It looks great, it looks like it plays great, and the campaign looks like it's going to hold up a whole new experience that Halo fans have never seen ever before. Now, of course, there are some caveats to that. For an example, in the multiplayer reveal trailer, I've noticed that the shield, when it's about to burst, or it does burst, it's like the entire Spartan is completely encompassed by this yellow bright shield. And I'm not exactly a big fan of that. I wish they could tone that down, like just have it like it was before, sort of like an electricity outburst instead of this shell that makes an entire silhouette out of Spartan and then it just comes off. I'm not exactly a big fan of that. It's kind of a bit too much towards that simplistic art style, if that makes sense. But man, I gotta say, I'm quite impressed. I'm very happy to see where Halo Infinite is going, and I'm definitely looking forward to it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe. I will greatly appreciate that, and you're gonna see more Chivalry videos. There's gonna come a point where I'll be posting some Halo 5 videos and show you how much I love that game. But anyways, thanks for watching. Click like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.